The Depths of Deceit, The Case of Shandra White. Contextual opening. In the quaint town of Grand Prairie, Texas, nestled just west of the bustling Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex, life flowed at a slower pace. Here, neighbors waved across picket fences, children played in the sun-washed streets, and community gatherings filled the calendar. But in the late summer of 1999, the seams of this idyllic facade began to fray as a tragedy unfolded that would leave an indelible mark on the community. Shandra White, a 27-year-old single mother of two, was well loved in her neighborhood. With a bright smile and an infectious laugh, she was known for her kindness and warmth. However, beneath the surface of her cheerful exterior lay a struggle that few could see. Shandra juggled the responsibilities of raising her children and navigating a tumultuous relationship with their father, a man who increasingly became a source of fear rather than support for her. Gradual revelation. As Shandra fought for independence and stability, warning signs began to appear. Friends noticed her increasing anxiety, the way her hands would tremble when they discussed her ex-partner, and the subtle hints that something was amiss at home. Shandra confided in her closest friends about her fears. Her ex had become increasingly possessive, often showing up unannounced and threatening her with veiled promises of violence. Despite the tension in her life, Shandra endeavored to maintain normalcy for her children. She enrolled in a local community college, determined to provide a better future for them. But as the walls of her newly crafted independence began to close in, she often felt trapped in a cycle of emotional and physical abuse that seemed unyielding. Criminal act. On the evening of July 28, 1999, Chandra's world violently collided with her past. After a heated argument with her ex-boyfriend, a man named Darnell Williams, she made the decision to protect herself and her children. As night settled in, Shandra contacted the police, expressing fear for her safety and the welfare of her kids. Less than an hour later, she was found dead in her own home, a victim of a brutal stabbing that left the community shaken. The news spread like wildfire. How could such a thing happen in Grand Prairie? Chandra's lifeless body was discovered in her bedroom, a painful scene filled with horror that would haunt those who had loved her. The police soon focused on Darnell, who had a history of violent behavior and had been seen at Chandra's apartment earlier that day. Investigation and consequences. Detectives quickly traced Darnell's whereabouts and learned that he had fled the area shortly after the killing. Within days, he became a prime suspect as investigators began piecing together a timeline of events leading up to the murder. Friends provided testimony about Darnell's increasingly aggressive nature and his obsession with Shandra, painting a picture of a man unable to cope with rejection. As detectives gathered evidence, they uncovered a trail of messages between Darnell and Shandra, laced with threats and pleas for reconciliation. The emotional and psychological scars of their relationship played out in court documents, revealing a harrowing cycle of violence and manipulation. But the investigation was fraught with challenges. Darnell had vanished, and despite massive manhunts and media coverage, he evaded capture for nearly a year. His disappearance heightened the stakes, compounding the grief of Chandra's family and friends, who felt helpless in their pursuit of justice. Finally, in the summer of 2000, a tip led authorities to Darnell in a remote part of Louisiana. He was arrested and extradited to Texas, where he faced charges of murder. In court, his defense team argued temporary insanity, claiming he was overcome by emotions during the altercation. The prosecution, armed with a gripping narrative of domestic violence, painted Darnell as a man who had carefully planned his actions. In July 2002, after a lengthy trial, a jury found Darnell guilty of murder. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison, a ruling that brought a bittersweet sense of closure to Chandra's family, but could never replace the life stolen from them. Reflective resolution. Shandra White's tragic story is one of many that highlight the devastating impact of domestic violence. The void she left in her community served as a somber reminder that behind the smiles and laughter of everyday life, unspeakable struggles often linger. In the aftermath, Grand Prairie rallied around Chandra's children, ensuring they felt loved and supported, their mother's legacy becoming a touchstone for conversations about healthy relationships and the importance of seeking help. Her story ignited awareness about domestic abuse, sparking initiatives aimed at providing resources for victims and shedding light on the insidious nature of such violence. Chandra's death wasn't just a statistic. It became a clarion call for reform and community vigilance. In reflecting on Chandra's life and the circumstances surrounding her death, we are reminded of the profound responsibility to listen, to take fears seriously, and to stand united against the forces of violence that can invade the sanctity of home. The struggle to end domestic violence continues, urging us all to act with compassion and vigilance, ensuring that no story like Chandra's ever repeats itself.